Tonight, let this calm story about gladiator fights in the Colosseum help you fall asleep peacefully. We will learn how the Colosseum was built and what secrets it hides, and how gladiators really lived. The real history is very different from what we see in Hollywood movies. Before we start our story, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, because by the end of the video, you will be sleeping deeply. Share in the comments what other topics interest you, and we will make a video specially for you. Get comfortable. We're starting the journey. The year is 72 AD. Rome is the greatest city in the world. The streets are full of noise, merchants, soldiers, and crowds. But in the heart of the city, something new is rising. A massive structure of stone and ambition. This is the birth of the Colosseum, the most famous arena in human history. Emperor Vespasian makes a bold decision. He wants to build a gift for the Roman people. Not a palace for himself, but a place for everyone. A place where tens of thousands can gather, watch, and feel the power of Rome. The location he chooses is deeply symbolic. It sits on the grounds of Emperor Nero's Golden House, a luxurious palace that once stood on an artificial lake. Nero was hated by many Romans. He built his palace on land taken after the Great Fire of 64 AD, when Vespasian drains the lake and orders construction to begin. He sends a clear message. This emperor serves the people, not himself. The task is enormous. Engineers and architects study the ground carefully. The area is soft and wet because of the former lake. Workers drive thousands of wooden piles deep into the earth to create a stable foundation. Without modern machines, everything depends on human strength, animal power, and clever design. Ancient sources tell us that around 100,000 workers labor on this project. Many are prisoners of war from Judea, captured after the Roman victory in Jerusalem. They work under strict supervision, moving massive blocks of stone day after day. The main building material is travertine, a type of limestone quarried from Tivoli. About 20 miles from Rome, this stone is strong, durable, and beautiful. Workers transport it to the construction site using ox-drawn carts along Roman roads. Each block weighs hundreds of pounds. To hold these blocks together, Roman engineers use iron clamps, not mortar. Archaeologists have found holes in the stones where these clamps once sat. Over the centuries, people removed the iron to reuse it, leaving the marks we see today. The design is revolutionary. The Colosseum is not a solid mass of stone. It is a carefully planned network of arches, vaults, and corridors. Roman builders master the use of concrete, a material they invent and perfect. This concrete allows them to create curved ceilings and strong supports without needing thick walls everywhere. The building rises in 4 levels. The first 3 levels feature 80 arches each, creating a rhythm of openness and strength. The 4th level is a solid wall with small windows and decorative shields made of bronze. Imagine standing at the construction site in 75 AD. Dust fills the air. The sound of hammers striking stone echoes across the area. Wooden scaffolding climbs up the walls like a giant skeleton. Cranes powered by human treadmills lift heavy stones into place. Workers shout instructions in Latin, Greek, and other languages. Some carve decorative details into the stone. Others mix concrete or shape bricks. The project moves forward with impressive speed, but also with constant pressure. Vespasian wants to see his vision completed. In 79 AD, Vespasian dies before the Colosseum is finished. His son Titus becomes emperor and continues the work. By 80 AD, the main structure is ready. Titus organizes a grand opening ceremony that lasts 100 days. The celebrations include gladiator fights, animal hunts, and even mock naval battles. Ancient historians record that thousands of animals are brought from across the empire. Lions from Africa, bears from northern Europe, elephants from the east. The Roman people are amazed. They have never seen anything like this before. The Colosseum can hold between 50,000 and 80,000 spectators, depending on how crowded the seating becomes. To put this in perspective, it is larger than most modern sports stadiums. The building measures 189 meters long and 156 meters wide. Its outer wall stands about 48 meters high, roughly the height of a 12-story building today. Walking around the entire perimeter takes several minutes. The scale is breathtaking, even by modern standards. But why build something so large? The answer lies in Roman politics and culture. Emperors used public entertainment to maintain power and popularity. The formula is simple but effective. Give people bread and circuses, and they will support you. Gladiator games, animal hunts, and public executions are not just entertainment. They demonstrate Rome's military strength, its control over distant lands, and its ability to provide spectacular experiences. The Colosseum becomes a symbol of imperial generosity and Roman superiority. The name Colosseum does not appear immediately. Romans originally call it the Flavian Amphitheater, after the Flavian dynasty of emperors, Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. The name Colosseum comes later, possibly from a giant bronze statue called the Colossus of Nero that stands nearby. This statue, over 30 meters tall, represents Nero as the sun god. After Nero's death, later emperors changed the statue's head to represent different rulers. But the nickname Colosseum sticks. Domitian, the younger son of Vespasian, adds final touches after Titus dies in 81 AD. He completes the underground area beneath the arena floor, called the hypogeum. This network of tunnels and chambers becomes essential for the complex shows that Romans love. Domitian also adds the fourth level of seating and improves the building's functionality. By 82 AD, the Colosseum reaches its final form. Consider the logistics involved. Organizing games in the Colosseum requires months of preparation. Officials must arrange for gladiators, animals, equipment, and staff. They need to coordinate with gladiator schools, animal traders, and weapons makers. Food and water for thousands of spectators must be available. Security personnel keep order among the crowds. The Romans develop efficient systems for managing all these details. Tickets are not sold. Instead, entry is free, but spectators receive numbered pottery shards that assign them specific sections based on social class. The Colosseum also features an innovative sun protection system. Roman engineers design a massive retractable awning called a velarium. This fabric covering can be extended over most of the seating area to provide shade during hot days. Operating the velarium requires a team of experienced sailors from the Roman fleet. They use ropes, pulleys, and wooden poles mounted on the top of the outer wall. On windy days, the work is difficult and sometimes dangerous, but it keeps spectators comfortable. What makes the Colosseum truly remarkable is not just its size, but its purpose. Unlike temples built for gods or palaces built for rulers, this structure serves the public. It is a place where social barriers still exist, but where Romans of all classes gather under one roof. A senator sits in the front row on marble seats. A craftsman sits higher up on stone benches. A poor citizen climbs to the wooden seats at the very top. Everyone watches the same spectacle, feels the same excitement, and shares the same collective experience. The opening of the Colosseum marks a turning point in Roman culture. Previous amphitheaters were smaller and often temporary, built from wood. The Colosseum is permanent, massive, and designed to last for centuries. It sets a new standard for public architecture. Other cities across the empire begin building their own amphitheaters, trying to copy Rome's example. But none match the scale and sophistication of the original dot as the sun sets on that first day of games in 80 AD. Thousands of Romans walk home through the streets, talking excitedly about what they witnessed. They do not know it yet, but the Colosseum will stand for nearly 2,000 years. It will survive emperors, invasions, earthquakes, and fires. It will become the most recognizable symbol of ancient Rome, attracting millions of visitors from around the world. But on that first day, it is simply new, impressive, and full of promise. The greatest arena on earth has opened its gates, and the stories of those who fight, survive, and die within its walls are just beginning. Step inside the Colosseum on a bright morning in 85 AD. The building is now fully operational, and today there will be games. But before the action begins, take a moment to truly see this architectural wonder. Every detail serves a purpose. Every stone tells a story of Roman engineering genius. The outer wall rises before you in 4 distinct levels. The first 3 levels create a pattern of arches and columns that repeats 80 times around the entire oval. Each level uses a different style of column. The ground level features Doric columns, strong and simple. The second level shows Ionic columns, more elegant with scroll-like decorations at the top. The third level displays Corinthian columns, the most ornate, with elaborate leaf patterns. This combination is not random. Romans call it the Roman architectural order, and it demonstrates knowledge, sophistication, and respect for Greek traditions. The fourth level is solid wall, decorated with flat pilasters and small rectangular windows. Between these windows, workers once mounted large bronze shields that gleamed in the sunlight, creating a spectacular visual effect. The entrance system is remarkably organized. 76 entrances serve the general public, numbered with Roman numerals carved above each archway. 4 special entrances are reserved for the elite. The main entrance faces north and is used by the emperor and his family. Another entrance serves senators and magistrates. A third entrance is for the game sponsors and organizers. The fourth connects directly to the Gladiator school nearby through an underground tunnel. This separation ensures that different social classes do not mix while entering, maintaining Rome's strict social hierarchy even during public entertainment. Special sections exist for specific groups. Vestal virgins, the priestesses who maintain Rome's sacred fire, have a dedicated box with excellent views. Foreign ambassadors receive honored seating to impress them with Roman power. Even the emperor's box is carefully positioned for maximum visibility and safety, with private stairs and exits. Now look up at the Velarium, the massive awning system. On hot days like today, sailors from the Roman naval base work the rigging. They are experts at handling ropes and canvas from their time on ships. The velarium consists of dozens of large fabric panels that can be extended or retracted depending on the sun's position. Wooden masts protrude from the top of the outer wall, and a complex system of ropes connects them. When fully extended, the awning covers about 2/3 of the seating area, leaving the center open for ventilation. The fabric is treated with special solutions to make it more durable against sun and rain. Some historians believe the fabric might be dyed in bright colors, creating a stunning visual display when seen from above. The floor of the arena is covered with sand. The Latin word for sand is arena, which is why we still use that word today for sports venues. The sand serves an important practical function. It absorbs moisture and provides stable footing. Workers rake the sand smooth between events and replace it regularly. Beneath this sand lies the true marvel of the Colosseum, the hypogeum. You cannot see it from the seats, but below the arena floor exists an entire underground world 2 levels deep. This hypogeum contains a maze of corridors, rooms, and mechanical systems. 32 animal pens line the underground walls. Cages hold lions, bears, bulls, and other creatures imported from across the empire. The noise and smell from these animals must be intense, but clever ventilation shafts carry air up and out. Gladiators wait in separate chambers, checking their equipment, stretching, and mentally preparing for combat. The most impressive feature is the system of lifts and trapdoors. Romans built at least 28 mechanical elevators operated by human-powered winches and counterweights. These lifts can raise animals, gladiators, or scenery pieces from the underground levels up through trapdoors in the arena floor. During games, a tiger might suddenly appear in the middle of the arena, emerging through a trapdoor as if by magic. This theatrical surprise element thrills the audience and adds dramatic tension to the spectacles. The Colosseum also has an extensive water system. Underground channels bring fresh water from Rome's famous aqueducts. This water supplies fountains where spectators can drink during long game days. It also serves the animal pens and cleaning operations. Some ancient sources suggest that in the early years, Romans even flooded the arena floor to stage mock naval battles, though scholars debate whether this happened in the Colosseum or in other venues. If it did occur here, it would require sophisticated waterproofing and drainage systems that demonstrate even more impressive engineering skills. Acoustics receive careful attention. The Colosseum's curved walls and tiered seating create natural sound amplification. An announcer standing in the arena center can be heard throughout the entire structure without artificial amplification. The crowd's roar when exciting moments happen is legendary. Ancient writers describe the sound as similar to thunder or ocean waves, a collective expression of tens of thousands of voices united in excitement or disapproval. Safety features exist throughout the building despite the dangerous events that occur. A high wall separates the front row from the arena floor, protecting senators from animals or gladiators who might charge toward the audience. Nets can be raised for extra protection during beast hunts. Guards station themselves at strategic points. Medical facilities operate in the underground areas, staffed by doctors ready to treat injured gladiators or workers. The building materials tell their own story. The travertine outer wall uses approximately 100,000 cubic meters of stone. If you could weigh the entire structure, it would total around 50,000 tons. Yet the design includes numerous hollow spaces and cavities that reduce weight while maintaining strength. Roman concrete, made from volcanic ash, lime, and rubble, provides additional support in vaults and arches. This concrete actually becomes stronger over time, which partly explains why parts of the Colosseum still stand. Nearly 2,000 years later, decoration adds beauty to functionality. Statues once filled many of the archway niches, depicting gods, heroes, and important Romans. Colorful paint covered some surfaces. Gold leaf decorated certain elements. The overall effect was far more vibrant and ornate than the weathered gray-brown stone we see today. Imagine the Colosseum in its prime, white travertine gleaming, bronze shields reflecting sunlight, painted details adding color, statues watching from their niches, and fabric awnings stretched overhead. It must have looked almost magical. The building represents more than architectural skill. It embodies Roman values and priorities. The Colosseum's size demonstrates imperial wealth and power. Its free admission for citizens shows the emperor's generosity. The seating hierarchy reinforces social order. The spectacular events prove Rome's dominance over nature and foreign peoples. Everything about the structure sends messages about Roman greatness and the benefits of Roman rule. Standing in the Colosseum as thousands of spectators fill the seats around you, the excitement becomes tangible. Conversations echo in multiple languages. Vendors sell snacks and drinks. Children point and ask questions. Officials move through the crowd's checking sections. Musicians warm up their instruments. Animals roar from below. The atmosphere builds like a wave about to break. Soon the games will begin, and this magnificent structure will fulfill its purpose. For now, simply appreciate the genius required to create it. The Colosseum is not just a building. It is a statement, a symbol, and a stage where history unfolds before 50,000 witnesses. Beneath the sandy floor of the Colosseum arena lies a hidden world that most spectators never see. This underground complex, called the hypogeum, is where the real magic happens. It is a maze of corridors, chambers, and mechanical wonders that make the spectacular shows possible. Without the hypogeum, the Colosseum would be just another open space. With it, the arena becomes a stage for impossible surprises and theatrical drama. The hypogeum extends 2 levels deep beneath the arena floor. The total area covers the same footprint as the arena above, roughly 83 meters long and 48 meters wide. Imagine standing in this underground space. The ceiling is low, supported by thick brick walls and arches. Narrow corridors run in straight lines from one end to the other, intersecting with perpendicular passages. Small oil lamps provide dim lighting, creating shadows that dance on the walls. The air smells of animals, sweat, damp stone, and burning oil. Sounds echo strangely in the enclosed spaces. Animal growls, human voices, the creak of wooden mechanisms, the clink of metal chains. 32 animal pens line the outer walls of the hypogeum. Each pen is built with strong iron bars and heavy wooden gates. The size varies depending on what creature it holds. A cage for lions needs different dimensions than a pen for bears or bulls. Workers bring animals down through special entrance ramps that connect the hypogeum to the outside. These ramps are wide enough for carts pulled by oxen. Getting a full-grown elephant or rhinoceros underground requires careful planning and strong equipment. The animals come from across the Roman Empire and beyond. Lions and leopards arrive from North Africa in wooden crates. Bears travel from the forests of Germania and Gaul. Ostriches and crocodiles make the journey from Egypt. Bulls come from local Italian farms. Some exotic creatures cost enormous sums of money. A single elephant might equal the yearly salary of dozens of workers. Rhinoceroses are so rare that their appearance in the arena creates legendary stories that people discuss for years afterward. Caring for these animals is a full-time occupation. The hypogeum employs dozens of animal handlers, called bestiarii. These men must feed the creatures, clean the pens, and keep the animals healthy enough to perform, but aggressive enough to put on a good show. It is dangerous work. A handler who makes a mistake might lose a hand, an arm, or his life. The bestiarii develop deep knowledge of animal behavior. They learn which creatures respond to food rewards, which need to be intimidated with fire or noise, and which are simply too unpredictable to handle safely. Veterinarians also work in the hypogeum. These animal doctors treat injuries and illnesses, ensuring that expensive creatures survive long enough to appear in the games. They use herbs, oils, and surgical techniques passed down through generations. A skilled veterinarian who can keep a rare animal alive becomes a valuable member of the Colosseum staff. In separate chambers away from the animal pens, gladiators wait for their turn in the arena. These rooms are small, just large enough for a few men to sit or stand. Imagine being a gladiator in these final moments before combat. You sit on a wooden bench, your armor and weapons laid out beside you. Other fighters wait with you, some silent and focused, others talking nervously or praying to their gods. A guard stands at the door. You can hear the crowd above, their cheers and shouts filtering down through the stone and wood. You know that in minutes you will climb through a trapdoor into the bright sunlight, and your life will depend on your skill, strength, and luck. The mechanical systems of the hypogeum are extraordinary for their time. 28 vertical shafts connect the underground levels to the arena floor above. Each shaft contains a wooden elevator platform operated by a system of ropes, pulleys, and counterweights. Teams of workers turn large capstans, which are rotating cylinders that wind the ropes. As the capstan turns, the elevator platform rises through the shaft. Trapdoors in the arena floor open at precisely the right moment, and suddenly an animal, a gladiator, or a piece of scenery appears as if by magic. Operating these lifts requires perfect timing and coordination. A stage manager controls the sequence of events, signaling workers when to activate each mechanism. During a typical beast hunt, multiple animals might emerge from different trapdoors, within seconds of each other, creating chaos and excitement for the audience. The workers below cannot see what is happening above, so they must trust the signals and follow procedures exactly. A mistake could ruin the show or cause injuries. Some elevators are designed to tilt, launching animals at angles that make them run forward aggressively as soon as they reach the surface. This technique ensures that creatures immediately engage with hunters, rather than standing confused in an unfamiliar environment. The Romans understand animal psychology well enough to manipulate their natural reactions. The hypogeum also contains storage rooms for equipment and scenery. Wooden trees, painted backdrops, and artificial rocks are kept here, ready to be lifted into the arena to create different environments. One day the arena might represent an African plain for a lion hunt. The next day, it transforms into a forest setting for bear hunting. These scene changes happen during breaks in the program, keeping the audience entertained with visual variety. Water systems run through the hypogeum as well. Channels bring fresh water from Rome's aqueducts, supplying drinking water for animals and workers. Drainage channels carry away wastewater and animal refuse. Keeping the underground area clean is a constant challenge. Workers shovel out animal waste daily, and the floor must be regularly washed to prevent the buildup of filth and disease. The temperature underground differs from the surface. In summer, the hypogeum stays cooler, providing relief from Rome's intense heat. In winter, it remains warmer than the open air. The massive stone structure moderates temperature fluctuations, though it is never truly comfortable. The combination of body heat from animals and humans, plus the lack of good ventilation, creates a stuffy atmosphere that takes getting used to. Noise in the hypogeum is constant and sometimes overwhelming. Animals roar, growl, trumpet, and bellow. Men shout orders and conversation. Mechanisms creak and groan under strain. Wheels turn with rhythmic squeaks. Chains rattle. Gates clang. All these sounds mix together in an echoing cacophony that workers must learn to function within. Communication often happens through hand signals because spoken words get lost in the noise. Special tunnels connect the hypogeum to important external locations. The most significant tunnel runs directly to the Ludus Magnus, the great gladiator school located about 100 meters east of the Colosseum. This underground passage allows gladiators to travel from their training facility to the arena without going through public streets. This serves practical and security purposes. It prevents gladiators from escaping and keeps them away from crowds that might try to help them flee. It also maintains the theatrical illusion. Gladiators appear in the arena as if materializing from nowhere, rather than walking in through ordinary doors. Another tunnel connects to the nearby building where wild animals are kept before game days. Moving dangerous creatures through underground passages is safer than leading them through city streets where they might escape and cause panic. Romans learn these lessons through early incidents, and the tunnel system represents their solution. The men who work in the hypogeum form a distinct community within the Colosseum's larger workforce. They develop specialized skills and knowledge that outsiders do not possess. They take pride in their ability to make the impossible shows happen. A successful event depends on their precise work below ground, yet they receive little public recognition. The audience sees the spectacle, but remains largely unaware of the complex operations that create it. Working conditions are harsh. The hours are long, especially on game days when shows can last from morning until evening. The work is physically demanding, requiring strength and endurance. The danger is real, both from animals and from heavy machinery. Injuries are common. Yet positions in the hypogeum are actually desirable for many workers because they offer steady employment and specialized status. The hypogeum remains in use throughout the Colosseum's active centuries, Maintenance and repairs are constant necessities. Wooden components rot and must be replaced. Ropes wear out and break. Stone walls crack and need reinforcement. Each generation of workers makes improvements based on experience, gradually refining the systems to work more efficiently and safely. Archaeological excavations in the 19th and 20th centuries reveal the hypogeum's secrets. When researchers first see the underground complex, they are amazed by its sophistication. Careful study of the remaining structures allows them to understand how the mechanical systems worked. Modern reconstructions using ancient techniques prove that the Roman designs actually function as intended. The hypogeum stands as a testament to Roman engineering creativity and the lengths they go to in order to entertain their citizens. This hidden underground world makes the Colosseum more than just an arena. It transforms the building into a theatrical machine, capable of producing wonder and surprise. The hypogeum is where preparation meets performance, where the mundane work of handlers and mechanics enables the extraordinary spectacles that define Roman entertainment. Above ground, thousands cheer and gasp. Below ground, sweating workers and caged animals wait in the shadows, all playing their part in the grand production that is the Roman games. Who were the gladiators? This simple question has a complex answer. Gladiators came from many different backgrounds and entered the arena for many different reasons. Some had no choice. Others chose this dangerous path willingly. All of them became part of one of the most famous aspects of Roman culture. Most gladiators were prisoners of war. When Rome conquered new territories, captured soldiers faced several possible futures. Some became farm workers. Others worked in mines or on construction projects. The strongest and most impressive warriors were selected for gladiator training. Roman generals looked for men with military experience, physical strength, and fighting spirit. A defeated Germanic warrior or a captured Celtic soldier already knew how to fight. With additional training in Roman combat styles, such men could become effective gladiators. Being sent to gladiator school was not the worst fate for a prisoner of war. Compared to working in mines, where death came quickly from exhaustion or accidents, gladiator training offered better food, medical care, and a small chance of survival and freedom. Gladiators were valuable property. Their owners invested money in training and equipment. This gave gladiators better living conditions than most enslaved people in Rome. Criminals also became gladiators, though less commonly. Roman law allowed certain criminals to be sentenced to the arena. This was different from regular execution. Criminal gladiators called damnati received minimal training and poor equipment. Their fights were scheduled during the less popular midday sessions. Most did not survive long. However, if a criminal fighter showed exceptional skill and survived multiple combats, he might eventually be reclassified as a regular gladiator with better conditions. Surprisingly, some gladiators were volunteers. These men, called octorati, chose to become gladiators by signing a contract. Why would anyone make such a dangerous choice? Several reasons motivated these volunteers. Some were poor men with no other way to earn money. A successful gladiator could earn prize money that a laborer could never achieve in a lifetime of normal work. Some volunteers were former soldiers who missed the excitement of combat and the brotherhood of warriors. Others were men running from debts, bad reputations, or family problems. The gladiator school offered a new identity and a chance to start over. The volunteer contract was serious and binding. When a man signed it, he swore an oath. The words of this oath have been preserved in ancient texts. The volunteer promised to follow all rules of the gladiator school and accept the complete authority of his trainer and owner. This was not just dramatic language. It represented the real commitment to gladiator life and the total control that the gladiator's owner would have over him. Even though volunteers entered freely, once they signed the contract, they lost most of their legal rights and had to obey strict discipline. Women occasionally became gladiators too, though this was rare and controversial. Female gladiators, called gladiatresses, appeared in games during the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. Some ancient writers mention them with disapproval, considering female combat inappropriate. Others describe them as novelty acts that entertain crowds with their unusual nature. Archaeological evidence, including a relief sculpture showing 2 female fighters, proves that gladiatresses actually existed and were not just stories. Emperor Septimius Severus eventually banned female gladiators in 200 AD, declaring the practice undignified. Social status created interesting contradictions for gladiators. In one sense, they occupied the lowest level of Roman society. They were considered infamous, meaning people without honor. They could not vote, hold public office, or sit in the good seats at theaters. Many Romans viewed gladiators as barely better than criminals. In another sense, successful gladiators became celebrities. Crowds cheered for favorite fighters. Women admired them. Children played games pretending to be famous gladiators. Some gladiators earned enough money and fame to live comfortably. A few even gained their freedom and retired wealthy. Different types of gladiators specialized in different fighting styles. The Murmillo wore a helmet with a fish-shaped crest and carried a large rectangular shield and a short sword. His armor was heavy, providing good protection but limiting movement. The Murmillo represented the traditional Roman soldier style. The Retiarius was the opposite. He wore almost no armor, just a shoulder guard on his left arm. He carried a net, a trident, and a dagger. His strategy involved speed and distance. He tried to throw the net over his opponent, then attack with the trident while the enemy struggled. Retiarius fighters needed to be fast and clever. Because they lacked protective armor, the secutor was specifically designed to fight the Retiarius. His smooth, egg-shaped helmet had only small eye holes. This design prevented the Retiarius's net from catching on decorative features. The secutor carried a short sword and a large shield. His goal was to get close to the Retiarius quickly and use superior armor and strength to win. The Threx, or Thracian, used a small square shield and a curved sword called a sica. He wore armor on both legs and had a helmet with a wide brim and tall crest. The Threx fighting style emphasized quick movements and slashing attacks. The Hoplomachus fought in a style inspired by Greek warriors. He used a small round shield, a spear, and a sword. His armor included leg guards and arm protection. The Hoplomachus relied on the spear's reach, advantage in the early stages of combat. These different types were deliberately matched against each other to create interesting fights. A heavily armored Murmillo against a quick Retiarius made an exciting contrast of styles. A Threx versus a Hoplomachus presented 2 different approaches to speed-based fighting. Roman game organizers understood that variety kept audiences engaged. Not all gladiators fought other gladiators. Some specialized in fighting animals. These fighters, called venatores or bestiarii, trained specifically for beast hunts. They needed different skills than gladiators who fought humans. A venator had to understand animal behavior and movement patterns. He needed to anticipate how a lion would charge or how a bear would attack. This specialization was dangerous in unique ways, as animals were unpredictable and did not follow the same rules as human opponents. The gladiator population was diverse in terms of ethnicity and origin. Roman arenas featured fighters from across the known world. Germanic warriors with light hair and pale skin fought beside North African men with dark skin. Men from Syria, Gaul, Britannia, Egypt, and dozens of other regions all found themselves in the same gladiator schools. This diversity was intentional. Romans enjoyed seeing warriors from different conquered peoples, as it reinforced the idea of Roman dominance over the entire world. Training together in the gladiator schools created bonds between men who might have been enemies in war. A former Carthaginian soldier and a former Roman soldier might train side by side, eat together, and support each other. The shared danger and hardship of gladiator life created a unique brotherhood that crossed ethnic and national boundaries. Age varied among gladiators. Most were young men in their 20s or early 30s, the prime age for physical combat. However, some gladiators continued fighting into their 40s if they remained skilled and healthy. A few legendary fighters supposedly competed even older, though these stories might be exaggerated. Very young fighters, teenagers, were rare but not unknown. Boys from gladiator families sometimes began training early and entered the arena before age 20. The life expectancy of a gladiator is difficult to calculate. Some died in their first fight. Others survived for years, fighting dozens of matches. Modern researchers studying gladiator tombstones and records suggest that perhaps 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 fights ended in death. This means gladiators had better survival odds than many people assume. However, the cumulative risk was real. A gladiator who fought 20 times faced death multiple times. Even if most individual fights ended without fatal injuries, understanding who gladiators were requires seeing them as individuals, not just as a category. Each man had his own story of how he entered this life. Each had his own hopes, fears, skills, and personality. Some were cruel and violent. Others were thoughtful and kind when not in combat. Some dreamed of freedom and a normal life. Others found meaning and identity in being a gladiator. They were warriors, entertainers, prisoners, volunteers, heroes, and outcasts all at once. This complexity makes them fascinating figures in history, more than just fighters in an arena. They were men navigating an extreme situation, trying to survive and sometimes even thrive in a world that seemed designed to destroy them. Every morning before dawn, the gladiator school comes alive with activity. The largest and most famous school in Rome is called the Ludus Magnus, the Great Training School. It sits just 100 meters east of the Colosseum, connected by an underground tunnel. This building is home to hundreds of gladiators who train, eat, sleep, and prepare for combat within its walls. The Ludus Magnus is built around a central training arena. This practice arena is smaller than the Colosseum, but follows the same oval design. It measures about 63 meters long and 42 meters wide. Rows of seats surround the practice floor, not for paying spectators, but for trainers, school officials, and sometimes wealthy Romans who pay for the privilege of watching gladiators train. The practice arena has a sand floor just like the real Colosseum. Training here helps gladiators get used to the feel of sand under their feet and the sensation of being watched by crowds dot around this central arena. The building contains multiple levels of rooms. The ground floor has weapon storage areas, equipment rooms, and offices for the lanista. The lanista is the owner and manager of the gladiator school. He is a businessman who invests money in purchasing, training, and maintaining gladiators, hoping to earn profits when they perform well in the arena. Some lanistae are former gladiators themselves who bought their freedom and started their own schools. Others are wealthy entrepreneurs who see gladiators as valuable investments. The upper floors contain living quarters for the gladiators. These are not luxurious, but they are functional. Each cell-like room holds 2 to 4 men. The rooms are small, with stone walls, narrow windows high up for light and air, and simple wooden beds. Gladiators keep their personal possessions in wooden chests. The rooms stay cool in summer and cold in winter. Compared to the conditions that enslaved people face in mines or on farms, these quarters are reasonable. The school provides what gladiators need to stay healthy and strong, because injured or sick gladiators cannot fight and earn money. The daily schedule is strict and repetitive. Training begins early, often before sunrise during hot summer months. Gladiators gather in the practice arena, sorted by their fighting type. Murmillo fighters train together in one group. Retiarius fighters work in another section. Each type has specialized trainers called doctors. These trainers are usually retired gladiators who survived long enough to gain freedom, or experienced fighters who know the techniques intimately. Morning training focuses on physical conditioning. Gladiators run laps around the arena to build endurance. They perform exercises that strengthen specific muscles needed for combat. A murmillo who carries heavy armor and a large shield needs powerful legs and a strong back. A retiarius who relies on speed and agility does different exercises focused on quick movements and flexibility. Trainers watch carefully and correct mistakes. They push the gladiators hard, because physical fitness can mean the difference between victory and defeat. After physical conditioning comes weapons training. Beginning gladiators start with wooden practice weapons called rudis. These wooden swords and shields are heavier than real combat weapons. Training with heavier equipment builds strength. It also prevents serious injuries during practice. Advanced gladiators eventually train with real weapons, though they still practice carefully to avoid disabling injuries. Before scheduled fights, trainers teach specific techniques for each gladiator type. A murmillo learns how to use his large shield for both defense and offense. He practices short, powerful sword thrusts aimed at vulnerable spots in an opponent's armor. He learns footwork patterns that keep him balanced despite heavy equipment. The training is detailed and precise. Every movement has a purpose. Nothing is left to chance or improvisation. A retiarius faces completely different training challenges. He must master throwing the weighted net accurately. The net needs to open fully in flight and land over the target. This requires practice and timing. He also trains with the trident, learning to keep opponents at distance and strike quickly. The retiarius practices constant movement because standing still makes him an uneasy target for armored opponents. Sparring sessions happen in the afternoon. Two gladiators face each other using practice weapons. A trainer acts as referee, stopping the match if it becomes too dangerous or if one fighter makes a serious mistake. These practice combats are intense but controlled. The goal is improvement, not injury. Gladiators learn to read their opponent's movements, anticipate attacks, and respond effectively. They develop the mental toughness needed to stay calm during real combat when crowds scream and lives are at stake. The school employs medical staff who treat training injuries. Doctors with knowledge of anatomy and wound care work in dedicated medical rooms. They set broken bones, stitch cuts, and treat sprains. They also provide preventive care, checking gladiators regularly for health problems. Some of the best medical knowledge in Rome comes from gladiator doctors who see many injuries and learn effective treatments through experience. Diet receives careful attention because proper nutrition affects performance. Gladiators eat better than most common people in Rome. Their meals include large amounts of barley and beans. Ancient writings describe gladiators as hordeari, which means barley eaters. Modern research on gladiator bones confirms they consumed high amounts of plant-based foods. This diet provides carbohydrates for energy and helps build body mass that offers some protection during combat. Meals also include vegetables, cheese, and occasionally meat, though meat is less common than people might expect. The school provides regular, predictable meals at set times. Breakfast happens after morning training. The main meal comes in late afternoon after the day's training ends. Gladiators eat together in common dining areas. This shared mealtime builds camaraderie among men who might soon fight each other or die in the arena. Water is available throughout the day from fountains supplied by Rome's aqueduct system. Staying hydrated is essential during intense physical training. Some gladiators drink a special beverage made from vinegar and water, which provides refreshment and helps recovery after hard exercise. Between training sessions, gladiators have free time. Some rest in their rooms. Others socialize playing dice games or talking. Gladiators form friendships despite their unusual circumstances. They share experiences that outsiders cannot fully understand. A special bond develops between men who face death together regularly. They support each other emotionally and share advice about technique and strategy. Religious practices are important to many gladiators. Small shrines to various gods can be found in the school. Mars, the god of war, receives prayers and offerings. Nemesis, the goddess of revenge and balance, is particularly popular among gladiators who hope she will bring justice to their fights. Some gladiators wear amulets or keep small religious objects for protection and luck. Not all time is spent inside the school. Gladiators sometimes leave under guard to visit public baths, where they can clean themselves thoroughly and relax in warm water. These outings provide a change of environment and a brief taste of normal Roman life. However, gladiators are always watched to prevent escape attempts. The school maintains strict discipline. Rules govern every aspect of life. Punishments for breaking rules can be severe, including reduced food rations, extra training duties, or confinement to cells. The lanista cannot afford disorder or rebellion. He needs obedient, focused fighters who follow instructions and respect authority. Equipment maintenance is a daily responsibility. After training, gladiators clean their weapons and armor. Rust must be prevented. Leather straps and padding need checking for wear. Shields require regular repairs. Each gladiator is responsible for keeping his equipment in good condition. This practical work also serves as a meditative activity that helps gladiators calm their minds after intense physical effort. Some gladiators receive special attention if they show exceptional promise. Star fighters might get slightly better accommodations, extra food, or small privileges. The lanista invests more heavily in gladiators who win consistently because they generate higher fees when hired for games. Fame in the arena can improve living conditions inside the school. Training never stops completely. Even experienced gladiators maintain daily practice routines. Skills deteriorate without constant reinforcement. Muscles need regular exercise to stay strong. Combat techniques must remain sharp through repetition. A gladiator who becomes lazy in training will likely die in his next fight. The psychological preparation is as important as physical training. Gladiators must learn to control fear. Everyone feels afraid before combat, but successful fighters function despite fear. Trainers teach mental techniques to stay focused during the chaos of arena combat. Gladiators learn to tune out crowd noise, ignore distractions, and concentrate completely on their opponent. Veterans often mentor younger gladiators, sharing wisdom gained from experience. They explain what to expect during the walk to the arena, how crowds behave, and tricks for conserving energy during long fights. This informal education supplements the formal training provided by DOCTORES. Life in the ludus is demanding and structured, but it provides stability. Gladiators know what each day will bring. They receive food, shelter, medical care, and training. For men who came from war, slavery, or poverty, this predictable routine offers a kind of security, even as they prepare for the unpredictable violence of the arena. As evening approaches, the practice arena grows quiet. Gladiators return to their quarters, tired from hours of training. They eat their evening meal, tend to minor injuries, and prepare for sleep. Tomorrow will bring another day of the same routine. Wake up, train, eat, rest, repeat. This is the rhythm of gladiator life between arena appearances. A life of controlled violence, strict discipline, and constant preparation for moments when everything depends on skill, strength, and survival instinct. The ludus magnus turns ordinary men into professional fighters, shaping them day by day into the gladiators that Rome demands for its entertainment. A game day at the Colosseum follows a carefully planned schedule. The events begin in the morning and can continue until evening. Each part of the day has its own purpose and its own audience. Understanding the structure of these events helps explain the rituals and traditions that surround gladiator combat. The day starts with the morning procession, called the Pampa. This ceremonial parade enters the arena with great spectacle. Musicians lead the way, playing horns and drums. Behind them come attendants carrying banners and signs announcing the day's sponsor. Then the gladiators themselves walk into the arena, wearing colorful cloaks over their armor. They circle the arena floor, allowing the crowd to see them and build excitement. The procession stops in front of the emperor's box, or if the emperor is absent, in front of the sponsor's seat. The gladiators raise their right arms in salute. Ancient writers record various phrases used during this moment, though the exact words varied. After the procession, the gladiators exit and the morning program begins. The morning session features animal hunts called venations. Hunters, armed with spears, bows, or other weapons, face wild animals brought from across the empire. These hunts are carefully choreographed to create excitement without being too predictable. Scenery pieces rise from the hypogeum to create forest or jungle environments. Animals emerge from trapdoors at strategic moments. The crowd watches as hunters demonstrate skill and bravery against dangerous creatures. These animal shows serve multiple purposes. They display Rome's control over nature and exotic lands. They provide variety and entertainment. They also allow time for final preparations before the main gladiator combats. While the crowd watches the hunts, workers below prepare the arena for afternoon events. The middle of the day brings a change in atmosphere. The quality audience members, the wealthy and privileged, often leave during this time to eat lunch at home or in nearby establishments. The midday period historically featured different types of presentations that educated sources describe as less popular with sophisticated viewers. Modern retellings focus on the educational aspects of Roman spectacles, rather than dwelling on this particular time period. The afternoon represents the main event that everyone waits: full gladiator combat. Before fighting begins, officials inspect all weapons and armor to ensure fairness. A referee called the Summa Rudis, dressed in a tunic and carrying a long staff, oversees the proceedings. One or more assistant referees called Secundi Rudis help monitor the fights. These officials are experienced former gladiators who understand combat and can make quick decisions. Pairs of gladiators are matched by lottery to ensure fairness and unpredictability. Officials place tokens representing each gladiator into containers. A random draw determines who fights whom. This system prevents accusations of unfair matchmaking and adds an element of chance to the proceedings. Sometimes unexpected pairings create particularly interesting contests. Once matched, gladiators return to the underground area to make final preparations. They check their equipment one last time. Some pray to their chosen gods. Others focus mentally on the upcoming challenge. Attendants help them put on armor and adjust straps for proper fit. This preparation time is tense and serious. When called, two gladiators emerge into the bright arena through separate trapdoors or gates. The crowd's noise washes over them like a physical force. Thousands of voices cheer, shout advice, and call out the names of favorites. The gladiators walk to the center of the sand, acknowledging the crowd and the presiding official. The referee signals the start of combat. The gladiators begin carefully, testing each other's skills and looking for weaknesses. Combat is not wild and chaotic. It is controlled, strategic, and technical. Each fighter uses the techniques learned through years of training. A Murmillo tries to get close and use his strength advantage. A Ricciarius circles and attempts to create distance for his net and trident. The crowd reacts to every action. A successful attack brings cheers. A clever defensive move earns appreciation. The audience understands the technical aspects of combat and recognizes skillful maneuvers. They are not just watching violence. They are watching highly trained athletes perform their craft. Fights vary in length. Some end quickly if one gladiator proves clearly superior. Others continue for a long time as evenly matched opponents struggle for advantage. The physical demands are enormous. Fighting in armor under the hot sun, with thousands watching, exhausts even the strongest men. Stamina becomes as important as skill. When one gladiator gains a decisive advantage, the losing fighter has an option. He can admit defeat by raising his hand or dropping his weapon. This is not cowardice. It is recognition of reality. A gladiator who refuses to surrender when clearly beaten may suffer worse consequences. Acknowledging defeat with dignity is considered honorable. At this moment, the crowd's opinion becomes important. Spectators indicate their feelings about the defeated gladiator's performance. If he fought bravely and skillfully, they may show approval by waving cloths or gesturing with their hands. If they believe he fought poorly or without courage, they may express disapproval. The emperor or presiding official considers these signals when making the final decision. The decision about the defeated gladiator's fate is shown through hand gestures. Historical evidence about the exact meaning of specific gestures remains debated among scholars. What is clear is that the official has authority to grant mercy or demand a conclusive end to the match. Many factors influence this decision. How? Well, the gladiator fought, his previous record, the crowd's mood, and the political considerations of the moment. If mercy is granted, the defeated gladiator leaves the arena alive. Medical attendants wait to treat his injuries. He will recover and fight another day. If mercy is not granted, the fight reaches its final conclusion according to accepted protocols that emphasized dignity and respect for the defeated warrior's courage. Victory brings rewards and recognition. The winning gladiator receives a palm branch, symbol of victory in Roman culture. He may also receive prize money, with amounts varying based on the importance of the games and the quality of his performance. The crowd cheers the victor as he circles the arena, acknowledging their appreciation. After each fight, attendants rush onto the sand. They rake the surface smooth and spread fresh sand to prepare for the next contest. Workers remove equipment and ensure everything is ready. The efficient transition between fights keeps the program moving and maintains audience interest. Multiple pairs of gladiators fight during an afternoon session. The variety of matchups and fighting styles prevents monotony. A heavily armored battle might follow a fast-paced match between lighter fighters. Different combinations create different dynamics and keep spectators engaged. Throughout the afternoon, the crowd remains active and vocal. They eat snacks purchased from vendors. They place bets with each other on fight outcomes. They debate the technical merits of different fighters. They argue about referee decisions. The Colosseum is not a quiet, passive space. It buzzes with energy and interaction. Religious elements appear throughout the day. Brief ceremonies honor Mars and other gods associated with combat and victory. Priests perform traditional rituals at specific moments. These religious observances remind everyone that the games connect to Rome's spiritual traditions and cultural heritage. As the day progresses and the sun moves lower in the sky, the final fights take place. Often the best and most anticipated matches are scheduled for the end, ensuring that the crowd stays until evening. The day concludes with a sense of completion. The games have served their purpose, entertaining the masses, demonstrating imperial generosity, and reinforcing Roman values of courage, discipline, and martial skill. For the gladiators, the day brings relief or disappointment. Those who won gain status and rewards. Those who lost but survived face the knowledge that they must prepare for the next fight. Those who did not survive are honored according to Gladiator traditions and buried with ceremonies that acknowledge their role. The rituals of the arena create a structured framework that transforms combat into ceremony. Every element has meaning and purpose. The procession establishes formality. The lottery ensures fairness. The referee maintains rules. The crowd participation makes citizens feel involved in the proceedings. These rituals turn dangerous combat into an organized cultural event that reflects Roman society's values, hierarchies, and beliefs. The Colosseum is not just a battlefield. It is a theater where ritual and reality merge, where entertainment and tradition combine, and where the ancient Romans express their identity through carefully managed spectacle. Gladiator combat follows rules and traditions that most modern people do not expect. Popular movies often show chaotic, brutal fights where anything goes. The reality was very different. Roman gladiator matches were regulated sporting events with referees, rules, and codes of conduct. Understanding these rules reveals how Romans balanced entertainment with structure and fairness. The Summa Iudice, the chief referee, holds absolute authority during a match. He carries a long wooden staff that he uses to separate fighters when necessary. If gladiators get tangled together or the fight moves in a dangerous direction, he steps between them and calls a pause. Both fighters must stop immediately and return to starting positions. Ignoring the referee brings severe punishment. The Summa Iudice can disqualify a fighter, reduce his prize money, or impose other penalties. Assistant referees, the Secundi Iudices, watch from different angles. With multiple officials observing, it becomes difficult for fighters to cheat or break rules without being caught. These referees know gladiator combat intimately because they are former fighters themselves. They recognize illegal moves, dangerous situations, and violations of fighting protocols. Rules vary slightly depending on the types of gladiators fighting. A match between two heavily armored myrmidons follows. Different guidelines than a fight between a retiarius and a secutor. However, certain basic rules apply to all matches. Fighters cannot attack an opponent who is down on the ground in a helpless position. They cannot strike the referee. They cannot use weapons other than their assigned equipment. They cannot leave the designated fighting area without permission. The fighting area itself has boundaries. While the entire arena floor is covered with sand, the active combat zone is smaller and clearly marked. If a gladiator backs out of this zone repeatedly, referees may penalize him for avoiding combat. The crowd also reacts negatively to fighters who seem more interested in escaping than fighting. Combat begins when both gladiators are ready and the referee gives the signal. The initial moments involve careful assessment. Each fighter studies his opponent's stance, movement, and apparent strategy. Experienced gladiators can often predict fighting style and tactics just from watching the first few seconds of movement. The pace of combat varies greatly. Some matches feature constant action with both fighters attacking and defending continuously. Other matches involve longer periods of circling and positioning, with brief explosive exchanges when opportunities appear. Neither style is considered better or worse. Romans appreciate both aggressive fighters and tactical, patient fighters. The key is effectiveness and entertainment value. Stamina management becomes crucial in longer fights. A gladiator who uses all his energy in the first few minutes will struggle later when exhaustion sets in. Smart fighters pace themselves, conserving energy and looking for moments when their opponent shows weakness or fatigue. Training emphasizes endurance for exactly this reason. The weight of equipment affects fighting strategy significantly. A myrmidon carries approximately 15 to 20 kilograms of armor, shield, and weapons. Moving in this equipment for 10 or 15 minutes of intense combat exhausts even very fit men. The retiarius, wearing minimal armor, has a weight advantage but lacks protection. Each fighter tries to exploit his advantages while minimizing his disadvantages. Defensive skill matters as much as attacking ability. A gladiator who can avoid or block attacks preserves his energy and prevents injury. Good defense also frustrates opponents and can cause them to make mistakes. Crowds recognize and appreciate excellent defensive work, applauding clever blocks or evasive movements. When one fighter begins to dominate clearly, the losing gladiator faces a critical decision. He can continue fighting with little hope of victory, risking serious injury. Or he can acknowledge defeat by raising his index finger or hand in the traditional gesture of submission. This admission of defeat is called asking for mercy and represents a formal request for the presiding official to spare his life. The moment of submission is dramatic and emotionally charged. The entire arena focuses on this single gladiator and the decision that will determine his fate. The fighter kneels or remains standing, depending on his condition, and makes the gesture. The crowd's reaction comes immediately. They signal their opinion through various gestures and sounds. Historical sources disagree about the exact meaning of thumb gestures. The phrase "thumbs down" from modern culture may not accurately represent Roman practice. What is clear is that the crowd could indicate approval or disapproval through hand signals. The emperor or game sponsor observes these signals but makes the final decision independently. Sometimes the official follows crowd sentiment. Other times he overrides it based on his own judgment. Multiple factors influence the mercy decision. A gladiator's previous record matters greatly. A fighter who has won many matches and shown consistent bravery over years deserves consideration. A newer gladiator with no proven record has less claim to mercy. How the fighter performed in this specific match also matters. Did he fight courageously and skillfully until the end? Or did he give up too easily? Romans value courage and effort even in defeat. The game sponsor's interests affect decisions too. Gladiators are expensive investments. Allowing too many to be finished reduces the available pool of fighters for future games. Sponsors who frequently grant mercy build reputations as fair and reasonable, which pleases the crowd. Those who rarely grant mercy may face criticism for wastefulness or cruelty. If mercy is granted, the defeated gladiator receives medical attention immediately. Doctors trained in treating combat injuries wait at the arena edge. They can assess wounds, stop bleeding, stabilize broken bones, and provide emergency care. The quality of medical treatment available to gladiators exceeds what most Romans could access. The lanista wants his investment to recover and fight again. The victor receives his rewards while still in the arena. Attendants bring a palm branch, symbol of victory. In some cases, the winner also receives a laurel crown. Prize money varies based on the importance of the games and the quality of the performance. A spectacular victory in major games might earn several months' worth of normal wages. A routine win in smaller games pays less but still provides valuable income. Statistics on gladiator survival rates surprise many people. Modern research examining historical records and gladiator tombstones suggests that perhaps only 1 in 5 to 1 in 10 matches ended with a fighter's life ending. This means most gladiators survived most of their fights. Over a career of 20 or 30 matches, however, the cumulative risk becomes substantial. Even with a 90% survival rate per match, fighting 20 times creates significant danger. Different fighting styles had different risk levels. Heavily armored gladiators like Myrmilones generally suffered fewer serious injuries because their armor provided good protection. Lightly protected fighters like Ritieri faced higher injury risks, but often had better survival rates because crowds appreciated their skill and bravery. The quality of matchmaking affected outcomes. When two evenly matched gladiators fought, both had realistic chances of winning. When a veteran faced a novice, the experienced fighter usually won easily, sometimes without seriously harming the newcomer. Officials tried to create competitive matches because close fights entertained crowds better than one-sided dominations. Some gladiators became so skilled and famous that they rarely faced serious challenges. These champions might fight dozens of times over many years, accumulating impressive records. A few legendary fighters supposedly won 50 or more matches. While some of these stories may be exaggerated, they reflect real cases of exceptional gladiators who mastered their craft and survived through skill, strength, and intelligence. Luck played a role that no amount of skill could completely eliminate. A random slip on uneven sand could leave a gladiator vulnerable. Equipment could break unexpectedly. A referee might miss a rule violation. The unpredictable nature of combat meant that even the best fighters could have bad days. The ultimate reward for a successful gladiator career was the rudes, a wooden sword symbolizing freedom and retirement. Laniste granted the rudes to gladiators who had fought long and well enough to earn it. Receiving the rudes meant no more required fighting. The gladiator could retire, keeping any money he had earned and saved. Some freed gladiators became trainers, referees, or bodyguards. Others opened businesses or returned to their home regions. The rudes represented the goal that kept many gladiators motivated through years of training and combat, that not every gladiator lived long enough to earn freedom. Many died in the arena despite their skills. Others died from injuries that developed complications days or weeks after matches. Some were sold to different owners and never accumulated enough victories to earn the rudes. The life of a gladiator combined opportunity and danger in equal measure. Understanding the rules and realities of gladiator combat reveals a more complex picture than simple stories of mindless violence. These were professional athletes competing in a dangerous but regulated sport. They trained for years, followed strict rules, respected traditions, and hoped to survive long enough to win freedom and a better life. The rules gave structure to chaos, transforming deadly combat into a formal competition that reflected Roman values of discipline, courage, and honor. In the sand of the Colosseum arena, every match told a story not just of violence, but of human determination, skill, and the will to survive against difficult odds. Among the thousands of gladiators who fought in Roman arenas, a few became legends. Their stories survived centuries because they represented something extraordinary, the possibility of triumph against overwhelming odds. These tales of survival and freedom inspired other gladiators and captured the imagination of Roman society. The most famous gladiator in history is Spartacus. His story begins around 73 BC, decades before the Colosseum was built, but his legend shaped how Romans thought about gladiators forever. Spartacus was a Thracian warrior captured and sold into gladiator training. Historical sources describe him as strong, intelligent, and charismatic. He trained at a gladiator school in Capua, a city south of Rome. Spartacus did something that most gladiators never attempted. He escaped. Along with about 70 other gladiators, he broke out of the school and fled to Mount Vesuvius. This was not a simple escape to find personal freedom. Spartacus organized a rebellion that grew into a full-scale war against Rome. Escaped slaves and poor farmers joined his army, which eventually numbered in the tens of thousands. For 2 years, Spartacus led this rebel army across Italy, defeating several Roman military forces. He demonstrated remarkable military skill, using guerrilla tactics and choosing battlegrounds carefully. His success shocked Rome. How could a slave gladiator threaten the most powerful empire in the world? The rebellion revealed weaknesses in Roman security and raised uncomfortable questions about the treatment of enslaved people. Eventually, Rome sent Marcus Licinius Crassus, one of its wealthiest and most ambitious leaders, to crush the rebellion. In 71 BC, Crassus trapped Spartacus's army in southern Italy. The final battle was fierce. Spartacus fought bravely, trying to reach Crassus himself, but he fell in combat. Roman sources record that his body was never positively identified among the thousands who died that day. The rebellion ended, but Spartacus became a symbol of resistance and the possibility that even enslaved people could challenge empire. Spartacus's story matters because it shows that some gladiators refused to accept their fate. He chose freedom and dignity over survival as a fighter. His legend inspired other rebellions and remained famous throughout Roman history and into modern times. He represents the ultimate survivor, Not someone who won freedom through service, but someone who seized it through courage and action. Another remarkable figure is Flamma, a Syrian gladiator whose tombstone provides rare, detailed information. Flamma fought as a secutor, one of the heavily armored types designed to fight retieri. His memorial stone, discovered in Sicily, records an astonishing career. He fought 34 matches. He won 21 times. He received the missio, or mercy decision, 9 times. 4 fights ended in draws when neither fighter could gain advantage. Most remarkably, the tombstone states that Flamma was offered the rudis, the wooden sword of freedom, 4 different times. Each time he refused it. He chose to continue fighting rather than retire. Why would anyone make this choice? Perhaps Flamma loved the arena and the life of a gladiator. Perhaps he had no family or home to return to. Perhaps the fame and relative comfort of being a star gladiator exceeded anything he could achieve as a freed man. His decision reminds us that not all gladiators saw their profession purely as suffering. Some found identity, purpose, and even satisfaction in it. Flamma eventually died at age 30, likely from combat injuries or their complications. His lanista honored him with an elaborate tombstone that preserved his story. The stone survives today, offering direct evidence of a real gladiator's remarkable career. The story of Androclus and the lion blends history and legend. Androclus was a Roman slave who escaped from his master in Africa. While hiding in a cave, he encountered a lion. Instead of attacking, the lion approached limping. Androclus saw a large thorn embedded in the animal's paw. He carefully removed it, and the grateful lion stayed with him, sharing food and providing companionship. Eventually, Androclus was recaptured and sent to Rome for punishment in the arena. He was scheduled to face wild animals without weapons or training. When he entered the arena, a lion was released. To everyone's amazement, the lion ran to Androclus and acted friendly rather than aggressive. It was the same lion he had helped years earlier. The crowd, moved by this extraordinary display, demanded his freedom. The emperor granted it, and Androclus walked free with the lion following him through Rome's streets. This story appears in ancient sources, but likely contains embellishments and symbolic elements. Whether it happened exactly as told, it represents something. Romans wanted to believe that kindness and courage could bring miraculous survival even in the deadliest circumstances. Female gladiators, though rare, produced their own survival stories. A relief sculpture found in Turkey shows 2 female fighters named Amazon and Achillea. The carving depicts them in combat gear with swords and shields. An inscription indicates they fought to a draw and both received missio. This evidence proves that female gladiators existed and could achieve honorable outcomes. Another documented case involves a woman from a noble family who fought in the arena. Emperor Nero reportedly enjoyed watching women fight, though this was controversial. Later Emperor Septimius Severus banned female gladiators entirely in 200 AD, the women who fought. During the brief period when it was allowed faced double challenges: the danger of combat and the social disapproval of their participation. Some gladiators survived not through fighting, but through specialized skills. Gladiator trainers who proved exceptionally good at their work sometimes earned freedom and wealth. The lanista Batiatus, who owned the school where Spartacus trained, was himself a former gladiator. Other freed gladiators became referees, using their experience to officiate matches fairly. These alternative paths to success required surviving long enough in the arena to gain freedom, then applying knowledge to new roles. One unusual survival story involves a gladiator named Carpophorus. Though he was technically a venator, a beast fighter rather than a traditional gladiator. Ancient sources describe him as exceptionally skilled at fighting animals. In a single day's exhibition, he reportedly defeated a bear, a lion, and a leopard in succession. While the exact numbers may be exaggerated, Carpophorus clearly achieved fame through his specialized abilities. He survived the dangerous work of facing wild animals and became celebrated for it. The poet Martial wrote about a gladiator named Hermes who mastered every fighting style. Hermes could fight as any type of gladiator: Murmillo, Retiarius, Secutor, or others. This versatility made him extremely valuable and famous. Crowds came specifically to watch Hermes perform, and he reportedly earned substantial money from his fights. His survival strategy was adaptability, being skilled at everything rather than limited to one approach. Some gladiators survived through luck as much as skill. Historical records mention fights where both gladiators performed so well and courageously that the emperor granted both of them missio, allowing both to leave with honor. These rare double mercies demonstrated that exceptional performance could overcome the usual expectation that one fighter must dominate. The ultimate form of survival was earning freedom and living long enough to enjoy it. Former gladiators who received the rudies had various opportunities. Some married and started families. Others opened businesses using prize money they had saved during their fighting careers. A few became bodyguards for wealthy Romans who valued their combat skills and intimidating presence. The rudies proved that survival was possible, though it required winning enough matches, pleasing enough crowds, and lasting long enough physically. These survival stories share common themes. They feature courage, skill, and often an element of luck or divine intervention. They represent hope in a brutal system. For gladiators waiting in the hypogeum before their fights, these legends provided motivation. If Spartacus could lead a rebellion, if Flamma could win 21 matches, if Androclus could befriend a lion, then perhaps survival was possible for anyone who fought with enough determination. The stories also reveal what Romans valued. They admired Spartacus's courage even as they condemned his rebellion. They respected Flamma's dedication to his craft. They loved the miraculous tale of Androclus because it suggested that the gods watched over the righteous. These legends became part of Roman culture, shaping how people understood gladiators not just as fighters, but as complex individuals with their own stories of struggle and triumph. For modern people, these survival stories provide a more complete picture of gladiator life. Not every gladiator died young. Not every match ended tragically. Some fighters won their freedom. Some became famous and wealthy. Some found meaning in their dangerous profession. While many gladiators certainly suffered and died, others survived and even thrived. Their stories remind us that history is not just about systems and statistics. It is also about individual people making choices, facing challenges, and sometimes achieving the improbable. In the shadows of the Colosseum, among the thousands who fought and fell, a few remarkable individuals survived to become legends that outlasted the empire itself. The Colosseum was never just about entertainment. Behind every game day lay complex webs of political calculation, financial ambition, and social maneuvering. Understanding these hidden forces reveals how the arena served as a stage for power struggles that had nothing to do with gladiators but everything to do with controlling Rome itself. Roman emperors discovered early that public spectacles bought political loyalty. The phrase "bread and circuses" captures this strategy perfectly. Keep the population fed with grain distributions and entertained with games, and they will support the government. Angry, bored citizens cause rebellions. Happy, distracted citizens stay peaceful. Emperors invested enormous sums in games because the political returns justified the expense. Organizing games at the Colosseum cost tremendous amounts of money. A single day of quality entertainment might cost what a common laborer earned in several lifetimes. Exotic animals had to be captured across the empire and transported to Rome. Gladiators required years of expensive training. Equipment, scenery, staff salaries, and facility maintenance added more costs. Where did this money come from? Wealthy politicians called aediles organized many games as part of their career advancement. Roman political culture expected ambitious men to spend personal fortunes entertaining the public. An aedile who sponsored spectacular games gained popularity and name recognition. This helped him win elections for higher offices later. It was an investment. Spend money now on games, earn political power later. Emperors faced even greater expectations. When a new emperor took power, he needed to demonstrate his legitimacy and generosity quickly. Organizing extraordinary games achieved both goals. The crowds who cheered at the Colosseum were the same people who might riot if they felt unhappy with imperial policies. Games created positive associations between the emperor and public enjoyment. Some emperors took personal interest in the games that went beyond political calculation. Emperor Commodus, who ruled from 180 to 192 AD, actually fought in the arena himself. This shocked and disturbed many Romans. Emperors were supposed to watch games, not participate in them. Fighting as a gladiator was considered degrading work, inappropriate for someone of imperial status. Commodus did not care about these social rules. He appeared in the arena hundreds of times, according to ancient sources. He fought as a secutor against retieri and other gladiator types. He also participated in beast hunts, reportedly downing many animals with javelins and arrows. Historical accounts describe these performances as carefully managed to ensure the emperor never faced real danger. His opponents used blunted weapons, and referees intervened if any actual risk appeared. Why did Commodus do this? Some historians suggest he genuinely enjoyed combat and saw himself as a new Hercules, the legendary hero. Others argue he was mentally unstable or trying to connect with common people by sharing their entertainment. Whatever his motivation, his behavior scandalized the Senate and upper classes. They saw it as undignified and inappropriate. Commodus demonstrated that even emperors could not completely ignore social conventions without facing criticism. The financial aspects of gladiator games created opportunities for profit and corruption. Lanistae, who owned gladiator schools, were businessmen first. They rented out their fighters to game organizers for fees negotiated based on the gladiator's fame and skill. A star fighter commanded high rental prices. Lesser-known gladiators cost less. Smart Lanistae invested in training and promoting their best fighters, building reputations that justified premium fees. Some games were fixed. Just like modern sports gambling, Romans bet on gladiator matches. Large sums of money changed hands based on fight outcomes. This created incentives for corruption. A lanista might arrange for his gladiator to lose intentionally if someone paid him enough. A gladiator might agree to throw a match for a share of gambling profits. Officials tried to prevent this, but the amounts of money involved made cheating attractive. Scandals occasionally emerged when fixed fights were discovered. Ancient sources mention cases where gladiators were punished for deliberately losing. The punishment could be severe, including being forced to fight in subsequent matches under disadvantageous conditions. However, proving intentional failure was difficult. How could anyone know for certain whether a gladiator lost through bad luck and lesser skill, or through deliberate choice? Political rivalries played out through the games. Senators who disliked each other competed to sponsor more impressive spectacles. If one senator brought lions from Africa, his rival would try to bring elephants from even farther away. This competitive spending benefited the public, who enjoyed increasingly elaborate shows, but it also drove some politicians into crushing debt. The relationship between gladiators and Roman women created another source of scandal and intrigue. Despite their low social status, successful gladiators became celebrities. Women from all classes found them fascinating. Ancient writers mention wealthy married women who had affairs with gladiators. Some supposedly paid large sums to spend time with famous fighters. This behavior was considered shameful and inappropriate, but it happened often enough that Roman authors complained about it frequently. These relationships were dangerous for gladiators. If a wealthy woman's husband discovered the affair, he might arrange for the gladiator to face particularly dangerous opponents, or be denied mercy if defeated. The power imbalance meant gladiators could not refuse advances from powerful women without risking their lives, but accepting those advances created different risks. The games also served as occasions for emperors to judge public mood. How crowds reacted at the Colosseum revealed their feelings about current events and policies. A popular emperor received enthusiastic cheers when he appeared. An unpopular emperor might face awkward silence or even subtle insults. Smart emperors paid attention to these signals and adjusted their policies accordingly. Sometimes emperors used games to send political messages. Executing criminals or captured enemies during the midday sessions reminded everyone of imperial justice and military power. Displaying exotic animals from newly conquered territories demonstrated the empire's expanding reach. Every element of the games could carry symbolic meaning beyond simple entertainment. The cost of games created ongoing political tensions. Senators resented the enormous expenses that emperors demanded for Colosseum spectacles. The money came from taxes, which meant less funding available for other purposes like road building, military equipment, or civic improvements. Some politicians quietly criticized the lavish spending on entertainment while people in distant provinces lacked basic services. However, speaking against the games publicly was politically dangerous. The Roman masses loved their entertainment. A politician who suggested reducing games to save money would become very unpopular very quickly. So critics mostly stayed silent, and the expensive spectacles continued. The gladiator industry employed thousands of people beyond the fighters themselves. Animal trappers, transporters, trainers, cage builders, weapons makers, armor craftsmen, doctors, cooks, cleaners, and maintenance workers all depended on the games for their livelihoods. This created a powerful economic interest group that supported continuing and expanding the spectacles. Any emperor who tried to reduce games faced opposition not just from entertainment-loving citizens, but from everyone whose income depended on the arena. Some philosophers and religious figures criticized the games on moral grounds. They argued that watching violence damaged people's characters and promoted cruelty. A few early Christian writers condemned the games as immoral and urged believers to avoid them. However, these voices remained minorities. Most Romans saw nothing wrong with the games and considered them an important part of their cultural heritage. The political importance of the Colosseum meant that its operation received careful imperial attention. Emperors appointed trusted administrators to manage scheduling, coordinate with gladiator schools, arrange animal procurement, and handle the thousands of details required for successful events. These administrators gained significant power and influence. They controlled access to the arena, decided which lannistae got contracts, and influenced who fought whom. Like any system involving power and money, corruption found opportunities. Bribes might secure better scheduling for Lannista's fighters. Gifts might influence which gladiators received mercy decisions. Favoritism determined whose animals appeared in hunts and whose got rejected. The complex system created many points where officials could extract personal benefits. The intrigues and politics surrounding the Colosseum remind us that nothing in Rome was simple. A gladiator fight was simultaneously a sporting event, a political tool, a business transaction, a religious ceremony, and a social occasion. Multiple agendas operated at once. Emperors sought popularity. Politicians pursued power. Lannistae wanted profits. Gladiators fought for survival and freedom. Crowds demanded entertainment. All these interests collided and combined in the sandy arena, creating a spectacle that was as much about politics and intrigue as about combat and courage. The Colosseum stood at the center of Roman life, not just because of what happened in its arena, but because of all the complex human dramas that swirled around it, making it a true theater of power where games and governance merged into one remarkable, complicated, and ultimately very Roman institution.